Well, good morning. Welcome to Reaching the Lost Success Strategies. Not long ago, your leadership and perhaps you received in an email two new tools, congregational coordination and the School of Evangelism checklist. Now, these were developed because of you. During Polishing the Pulpit, I sat down with a lot of elders and preachers. We had private consultation. What I wanted to know is, where are you struggling? What can we do to help you? We're here to serve. Well, all the good news we get is exciting, and I love the baptisms. We're getting 2 to 3 a day. We're going to set a record again this year. I love to hear about the Bible studies. I love to hear about all the great success you're having. But I learn a lot more by your failures, or about at least the difficulties you have along the way. We learn, what can we do to help get past those areas of difficulty? Well, this was universal. So as I sat down with elders and preachers, every one of them just about said, Rob, if you could give us more help organizing, if you could give us help more in the front end, trying to put all this together, if you could help keep our feet to the fire just a little bit more, I believe the payoff would be even bigger. And so we went back to the drawing board and we came up with 2 new tools. These are downloads and we sent them to you. One of them revolves around a checklist. Now, I'm a pilot and I fly. One of the things that's very important to me as a pilot is that I have my checklist in my lap. I've been flying since I've been 18 years old, 19 years old. I'd have that checklist in my lap. And I looked over to the other side. That is the instructor when I was learning. His name was Russ. Russ was a World War II fighter pilot. Russ had a checklist in his lap. Russ had been flying planes longer than I had been alive, but Russ still used his checklist. And he ingrained it in my mind. He said, Rob, always use your checklist. Never leave your checklist at home. So in my lap is my checklist, and I'm reading. I don't only read it, I read it aloud. I'm talking to myself. I'm checking off the items as they go down. If I skip one of those, it could be catastrophic. So checklists keep you focused, and it keeps you following the process. And of course, as anything in life, there's a process. Baking a cake is a process. Going to school is a process. Going to work, just mowing the lawn is a process. There's a process, and if you skip, different processes in efforts like this, you're not going to reach conclusion. You're not going to get a result that you want. The same as in evangelism. Checklist. What does it do? Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3. We have the checklist now. You can go through it. My advice, no matter how long you've been in our school, go back to the checklist. See if you've done the things that work. We know what we teach works. It comes right from the Bible. So there's not a question of if it's going to work. The question is, are we going to do it? And that checklist will help make sure you follow the process. Number 2, congregational coordinators. Leadership is necessary. Leadership is required in order for people to follow. The members are not going to follow if you don't lead them. And in most cases, members are just doing their own thing when it comes to evangelism. Some members do it this way, some do it that way, and there's no leadership. There's no congregational approach. The School of Evangelism teaches a congregational approach to evangelism. What that means is the elders lead it, the pulpit pushes it, and the members follow. In order for this to work, you've got to have team leaders, group leaders, coordinators. Now, it's easier said than done. So we developed a spreadsheet that lists all the areas. For example, who's going to coordinate your contact list? Who's in charge of it? Whose responsibility? Who's accountable for that? Who's going to coordinate your new movers ministry? Who's going to coordinate house to house, heart to heart? Who's going to coordinate the bookmark? Who's going to coordinate compassion cards? Who's going to coordinate benevolence? Who's going to coordinate new movers? Who's going to coordinate the evangelism table? Brother, there are a lot of pieces and parts to the evangelistic goals and strategies we teach in our school. And if you don't make sure that it's organized and led, it's going to fall apart. And in fact, a lot of our churches find success in following the process. And that's why they get to 2 and 3 baptisms that we're getting every day. But when a congregation doesn't do it, they start getting diminished results. They get discouraged. And so that's because they are not organized. They're not intentional. No one's holding their feet to the fire. That's your responsibility. Select people, put them in the right places, give them the training sheets. We are here to help you. Take those tools, call us, contact us, say, Rob, hey, help us get our compassion card ministry back on track. I've got a troubleshooting chart I'll give you on it. Rob, help us get our benevolence where it's evangelistic. Listen, I'll give you a troubleshooting chart. We'll get it back on track. That spreadsheet will help you put people into place to make sure the body functions correctly. An army cannot fight if it's not organized correctly and led. We are an army of soul winners, and brethren, you can do this. Use those new tools. May God bless your efforts this week to reach the lost.